welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast Special Edition show, the 2024 NFL Offseason preview and predictions. This is the 26th of 32 shows, and this show will be for the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll go over free agents to be, team needs, franchise tag candidate, trade candidate, release candidate, extension candidate, best draft fit, best free agent fit, and a bold prediction for every team. So, the Philadelphia Eagles, free agents to be. They have a lot. DeAndre Swift, Boston Scott, Rashad Penny, Julio Jones, Quez Watkins, Olamide Zacchaeus, the other wide receiver, Marcus Mariota, their backup quarterback, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Shaq Leonard, Zach Cunningham, Bradley Roby, Braden Mann, Rick Lovato. And then team needs. Running back, defensive end, wide receiver, inside linebacker, cornerback, and punter. I mean, I could have put down defensive tackle too, but they have the depth to replace Fletcher Cox if they have to. All right, so my pick for the franchise tag candidate, it's not someone that you might expect. I went with DeAndre Swift. He was awesome for the Eagles this past season. And then their second half collapse was more have to do with their defense than their offense. But that first half of the season, DeAndre Swift was a big part of their offense. So I think they might want to keep him around. Right, trade candidate, Hassan Reddick. There's rumors that he's available and that he's requested a trade. So it's logical sense that he's a trade candidate. And by the way, other franchise tag candidate, Fletcher Cox. I don't think Zach Cunningham's one. And then other trade candidates I could see being Kenneth Gainwell, potentially. This would just be very Eagles. I could see one of the big ticket guys in their secondary, like Kevin Byard or Darius Slay or Avonte Maddox. Release candidate, James Bradbury. Bradbury was just really bad in the second half of this past season. And to me, that was an easy call for most likely to be cut. He's highly paid. He was terrible this past season. He was good in 22 in their Super Bowl run. He was bad in 21. He was really good in 20, so he's an every other year guy. So I think he's probably cut. I think Byard and Slay are potential cut candidates, maybe even Reddick if they can't find a trade partner. Reed Blankenship, I think, is one. So is Avonte Maddox. I mean, Jason Kelsey's a retirement candidate. I wouldn't necessarily call him a cut candidate. And the other one's Lane Johnson, who's been around for a really, really long time. So that is a release candidate I could see as well. Extension candidate, Devontae Smith. This was an easy one. Has he performed up to the standards that some may have given him before he stepped foot on an NFL field? No. But I always say you pay for future projection, not past performance. And I think Devontae Smith still could be a WR1 in the right situation. Just that Philly has A.J. Brown and they have Dallas Goedert. And then they have Hurts and all the running backs. So, it's a usage thing for Philly. It's not necessarily a Devontae Smith problem, but I do think he is an extension candidate. I mean, so is Landon Dickerson, their guard. They have a lot of guys that they have to take care of next year, though, on the Kobe Dean and Jordan Davis. But But yeah, the two that jump out to me are Smith and Dickerson, but Smith is obviously the more likely candidate for an extension. All right, best draft fit. Terrion Arnold. I like Terrion Arnold. The Eagles' defense is getting old and highly paid, and they can't keep everybody. So I could see Bradbury being cut and Terrion Arnold being the pick at 21 or wherever they pick. And he would just make a lot of sense in Philly. So would Khalid McKinstry, so would Cooper DeJean. Looking at other positions, I think maybe Chris Braswell. Because they might lose Brandon Graham. Darius Robinson. The number 3 receiver, maybe Trey Franklin, Lade McConkey. If they lose to DeAndre Swift, maybe Jonathan Brooks. That'd be fun. Jeremiah Trotter's interesting for them. Jalen Polk out of Washington. Xavier Legette out of South Carolina. Braden Rice out of USC. Xavier Worthy out of Texas. So yeah, there's a lot of good draft fits for the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, free agent fit. Grover Stewart. Under the radar player, defensive tackle from the Colts. 51st on the PFF big board. He was pretty good this past season on the Colts defense. 1 sack, 10 assists, 28 tackles. But he wasn't as good 2 years ago. So yeah, he's been around for a long time. He got extended, and now he's up to be a free agent. Was pretty good in 21. He was okay in 20 and 19. So Grover Stewart, super underrated player, coming off arguably the best year of his career. I think that'd be a really good Eagle free agent fit. All right, other free agent fits. Xavier McKinney. Maybe Zadarius Smith. Kenny Moore. Jadeveon Clowney. Levante David. That'd be fun. Jonathan Grenard. Steven Nelson. Frankie Louvu makes some sense. Stephon Gilmore. Chidobe Awuzie. I don't think they'll sign Ridley. I really don't think they're going to sign any of the big free agents. I mean, maybe they can get in play for Kendall Fuller or Danielle Hunter or L'Jarius Sneed. But we'll see. Darnell Mooney would be a good fit there. Sheldon Rankins, Gabe Davis. Well, yeah, so the Eagles have some free agent options, but to me, Grover Stewart stands out. All right, my bold prediction for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to say that Hassan Reddick is traded to the Baltimore Ravens for a 2024 third rounder and a 2025 fifth. Reddick is open about wanting to be traded, and he's available. The Ravens might lose Patrick Queen, so it makes sense for them to go out and get Reddick in a deal. And there's a lot of other teams that make sense for Reddick, as well as the Ravens. But the Ravens jump out to me the most as a team that I could see being desperate. And they obviously didn't make the Super Bowl with the 1 seed and an MVP season from Lamar. And I think they want to remain competitive in a really good division. And they have a lot of notable guys that are going to be free agents. So getting somebody like Riddick, I think, would be a big deal for the Ravens, and I think the Eagles could replace Riddick in the draft. All right, potential futures for the Eagles as well as current futures. All right, so the Eagles to win the Super Bowl are like 17-1. I heard the Ringers Joe House gave them out as a Super Bowl future. 17-1, which is a little nuts considering they're in the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago. The NFC, they are plus 800, so that's actually pretty good as well. Jalen Hurts for MVP is 16-1, right with Dak and Brock Purdy. So that makes some sense as well. A.J. Brown for Offensive Player of the Year, I think, would be like 30-1, maybe 40-1, or something like that. Defensive Player of the Year, Jalen Carter was drawing comparisons to Aaron Donald in the first half of the season before that defense fell apart. He would probably be like 90-1, 100-1 for Defensive Player of the Year, which would be awesome. Rookies of the Year, say if the Eagles drafted, say, Jonathan Brooks, and they let Swift go, Brooks would be one of the favorites at like plus 550, 6-1 or something like that. So that's something to look out for if that scenario comes into fruition. We also have Terrion Arnold as a potential Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate. I could see him being like 30-1 or something like that, because usually corners don't usually win the award. Usually pass rushers do, and obviously the exception being Mr. Sauce Gardner. Nick Sirianni, Coach of the Year, will probably be like 50-1 or something like that. There's going to be longer shot odds on Sirianni. I don't think people may pick him to be the Coach of the Year. Comeback Player of the Year, if the Eagles acquire somebody that is coming off an injury within the next couple weeks, maybe we could look at that, or who that could potentially be. Win total, I expect them to be right around that 9.5, 10 range, kind of with Dallas. I could see it being 10. Them and Dallas, I think, are both going to be 10. Maybe Dallas 10.5 because they're Dallas. But I think the Eagles are going to be right at 10 for their win total. And division, you would think the Cowboys are going to be like plus 150. If the Eagles are anything over plus 250 to win the NFC East, I would absolutely bet it. I think they're going to be 2-1. Maybe plus 225. But I don't think they're going to be higher than 250. They're going to be right there at Dallas. I think they're going to be plus 225. Dallas will probably be like plus 170, plus 165, plus 160. Something in that range. And is this a Bill Belichick team? Absolutely it is. There were rumors that could have been the team for him had the Eagles moved on from Nick Sirianni. But Sirianni's back, and he hired 2 really good coordinators in Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore. So you would think that would fix a lot of things in Philly. But if this team underachieves again, Sirianni's out, and Howie Roseman and ownership will do all they can to try to get Belichick in there if the Eagles are a big disappointment in 2024. So I think the Eagles would probably be one of the favorites for Bill Belichick, if you ask me. Them and the Cowboys, ironically enough. All right, so there you have it for the Philadelphia Eagles. Next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers.